Hello there, welcome back to my views on news. Three news stories. Firstly, PM Abiy spoke yesterday at the inauguration of a tourism and hospitality exhibition. Strange comments passed by the Prime Minister. He spoke against immigration. He sent a message to Ethiopian diaspora yesterday through his speech. What did he say? Second, Israel wants Ethiopia to condemn Hamas's attack on Israeli civilians and Israeli military. Ethiopia is silent. And thirdly, a militia head has been killed in the Amhara region. Why did the incident happen? I want to say a few words about the plight of militia members in the Amhara region. Firstly, viewers, PM Abiy yesterday addressed Ethiopian National Tourism and Hospitality Fair. And there he addressed Ethiopian diaspora. He sent a message to diaspora through his speech. What did he say? He invited diaspora back home. He said, come to Ethiopia, invest here, build Ethiopia. What will you gain living abroad? You will study, you will find a job, you will buy a house on mortgage, and you will lose your children. This last point important. You will lose your children. There is a lot of tension there. Come to Ethiopia. This is not time for immigration for Ethiopians. Now, I want to say a few words. Firstly, Ethiopia receives billions of dollars from diaspora annually. Imagine all Ethiopians living abroad return to Ethiopia. What will happen? The economy, Ethiopian government is requesting IMF, World Bank, requesting since November last year, asking these institutions for loan. On the one hand. On the other, Ethiopia wants diaspora to return home and it will lose its remittance, billions of dollars of remittance, firstly. Secondly, can Ethiopia provide jobs to all the youths? If all Ethiopians living abroad, they decide to return to Ethiopia, is Ethiopian government in a position to accommodate them? No new projects were announced in this year's budget. In Amhara region, hundreds of industries closed, tens of thousands put out of work. Who will give jobs? Does Ethiopia have any new jobs? Jobs are there. Jobs are in security sector. Join Ethiopian National Defense Force. Join regional forces. Join militia members. Join Fano, Ola, Tigray parties. That is what Ethiopia has got. So he wants diaspora to return to Ethiopia while he has no plan to accommodate diaspora. He talked about next generation. Well, valid point, yes, that those who move abroad, sometimes their next generations and the generations that immigrate, there comes a gap between them. Yes, those who move abroad, they face these problems. No one can deny that. But it's not that all families go through this type of problem. And lastly, this diaspora community, Ethiopian diaspora community, is Ethiopian ambassador. These are Ethiopian ambassadors abroad. Don't tell them to return home, rather tell them how to represent Ethiopia, how to represent Ethiopian values abroad. World is moving towards multiculturalism. They say that multiculturalism is the basis for progress, prosperity, harmony. That is the way forward, by the way. If all If each religion, each country, each ethnic group only wants to secure the interests of its own people, there will never be the harmony, the coordination which is required for peace and progress in the world. So his remarks struck me. He just wants to prove that there are problems abroad. But there are more problems in these developing countries. People abroad, they have freedom of expression, freedom of assembly, freedom of speech. Their fundamental rights are respected. And what happens in underdeveloped, developing countries of Africa, Asia, that governments are autocratic, no democracy, no freedom of assembly, no freedom of expression, no freedom of journalism. So why would people sacrifice all their freedoms to live in these countries? And by the way, if you want to be a tourist destination, the ceremony was about national tourism and hospitality fair. Tourist destinations invite people for tourism. They don't invite people for immigration. Tourist countries of the world, they're known for inviting people for a limited period of time. That is what they want. They want people to come, spend money and go. That is why they're successful. So for me, his remarks were a little out of place. Secondly, viewers, Israel wants Ethiopia to condemn Hamas's attacks. Palestinian groups' attacks on Israeli forces and civilians. On Saturday, we saw start of a war in the Middle East. I'm covering that war on the other YouTube channel, Conflict News 2042, and we saw that African Union issued a statement. It called for two-state solution. It called for protection of civilian rights, especially rights of Palestinians. African Union's statement leaned towards Palestinians, but some African countries like Kenya condemned attacks, Hamas attacks on Israeli territory. Ethiopia is silent, Eritrea is silent. I have not seen any single statement from these two countries. Now, Israeli ambassador to Ethiopia spoke yesterday. Alilegne Adamso is his name. He wants Ethiopia to condemn the attack by Palestinian groups on Israeli forces and civilians. He said Ethiopian government should break its silence and condemn the attack. Interestingly, we know that earlier this week there was an attack in Turkey, allegedly by Kurd fighters. It was in the capital, I think, and back then Ethiopian government issued a statement condemning that attack. Kurds have been fighting against Turkish government for years. They have their presence in Iraq, in Syria, in Turkey. They don't have a separate country, so they have been struggling for a separate country. So when Turkey was hit by Kurd fighters, Ethiopia took a position. It stood with the Turkish government. Now when Israel and Hamas, Israel and Palestine are fighting, Ethiopian government is silent. Ethiopian ambassador to Israel spoke in response to these comments of Israeli ambassador to Ethiopia. Ethiopian ambassador said that Ethiopian position is neutral. Ethiopia wants this conflict to be resolved. So this is Ethiopian position. We are waiting for Eritrean government's position. Eritrean opposition groups are supporting humanitarian work in Israel. They are supporting humanitarian work like collection of items, collection of supplies for displaced people due to the fighting in Israel. No statement from Brigadier Hamido condemning strikes on Gaza or against the siege. The siege is being condemned by UN. Just yesterday, Antonio Guterres condemned the announcement by the defense minister of Israel, who announced to cut off supply of water, food, electricity to Gaza, that Gaza would be put under complete siege. UN condemning, numerous organizations condemning, opposition groups, Eritrean opposition groups silent. Now, let's see how Ethiopian, Eritrean governments respond. Maybe because Ethiopian government, Eritrean governments, they are close to Arab countries, especially those Arab countries who are close to Palestine. So that is why Ethiopian diaspora, Eritrean diaspora, opposition diaspora, they would support Israeli government. Let's see. But Israel wants Ethiopia to break the silence and condemn Palestinian groups' attacks on Israeli territory. Thirdly, viewers, a militia head has been killed in Gondar, South Gondar. South Gondar is a pain in the side for Amhara regional government. 3 days ago, there was an attack near Debre Tabor, close to Alem Saga forest, where a convoy of Prosperity Party leaders was ambushed by Fano fighters. Several were killed and captured in that attack. Now, from Debre Tabor city, a new story where last night militia chief was killed in firing. Exchange of gunfire happened there, and death of militia chief is being confirmed in Debre Tabor. Fano fighters have carried out attacks in Debre Tabor several times in the past 2 months, though town is under military control, but Fano fighters have large-scale presence close to Debre Tabor. Fano fighters are now carrying out direct attacks on military, police and militia, especially separate attacks on police and militia. They want to discourage police and militia from remaining part of the security structure. They want to ensure that no new recruitments happen. Militias are being used by military in the operation against Fano fighters. Militias are part of security structure of the Amhara region, Oromo region as well. But these militia members are not well-trained members. Police as well. I've been saying only military can stop Fano. Militia, police cannot stop Fano, but they provide logistical support, manpower support to Ethiopian National Defense Force. And Fano want to ensure that people don't agree to be recruited in militias and police. That is why separate attacks on police, militia in several towns of the Amhara region. Purpose is to ensure that police and militia are demoralized and they decide to quit. Thank you for watching.